we're really excited to be here with Rebecca Kaden, who is the managing partner here at Union Square Ventures, maybe the most storied VC firm here in New York, and one of the best performing VC firms.
So USV, a small collection of very thesis-driven partners to do things a little bit differently. So 6 partners, equal partnership, what we think of as low velocity, high conviction investing. So we don't do a lot of things, but we spend a lot of time on the things we do. And we spend a lot of time as a group developing really particular theses around markets. And sometimes they're really broad horizontal theses that we think kind of span across industries and categories. And then we take that horizontal thesis and we pull the threads. And we pull the thread and think about what markets that most applies to, how sharp can we make the tip of the spear of that thesis until we're really describing something quite specific. And then we try to balance what I think of as kind of one of the biggest tensions in venture of patience and impatience. How can we have strong hustle and always feel like we're, need to be out there and find the right thing, but also really patient around finding the right thing for our thesis and not jumping until we do. First thesis USV articulated was large networks of engaged users, which is network effects. In some ways, we've just been re-articulating that since around kind of different times that are evolving. The way we're thinking about it now is investing in markets that are in moments of structural change. So I think about it as where are tectonic plates already moving and doing it from the edge. And when we think about the edge, what we mean is often avoiding gatekeepers, finding direct paths into markets that have been marked by big industries getting in the way. And through that, oftentimes moving access to data from the institution to the individual or end user. And so creating ways to access unique data sets and build flywheels around them. Where can you build something that by doing it, you're gaining interesting and unique data that then promotes and is self-fulfilling around building a moated product in the market?
There was a recent tweet you shared that you said USV is most interested in these 4 areas: programmable intelligence, programmable energy, programmable molecules, and programmable money. Why don't we take them one at a time and talk about how you're thinking about them?
Yeah, I mean, we can actually talk about them collectively too, because in some ways it's the same function across those markets, right? It's kind of what I just talked about. It's how do you take software and take markets that were owned by large gatekeeping institutions and reprogram them using software and technology to operate in a more direct way that often changes the cost curve involved. We love that, and we believe that however you view the world going from here, access to dramatically more abundant, ideally cleaner and cheaper energy is critical to almost any worldview you have. We're very interested in what that looks like and how you create it. Data centers at the edge, programmable energy, decentralized energy, who knows what that's gonna look like? We're kind of in cleaner energy creation, nuclear energy, solar energy, who knows? But the combination of energy creation and then more direct models to access it. Bio is an interesting one. It's relatively new for us. And when we get into a new category, we think about it and talk about it internally and pull that thread often for quite a long time before we ever invest in it. We've really only made 2 investments around this category, but we've been working on it for probably like 18 or so months, maybe more. And we think about programmable bio as the opportunity to leverage software and really AI to change a fundamental cost curve in a market. We're very interested in how do you wake up the dead drug pipeline? How do you make the cost of clinical trials and delivering drugs to a market significantly cheaper and also way more long tail? We just love breaking up institutions. That's kind of what we want to do across every market you could think of. We have a consensus-driven model, so we build conviction together. And we've designed it so that we don't want to be lobbying each other. It's kind of a recipe for disaster in venture funds. So we don't want a situation where like, I've decided I like it and I'm going to convince my partners that they should like it too. Bad idea. My partners are super smart and have lots of opinions and perspectives. What we want to do is develop shared conviction. So you meet a company, it's the tiniest kernel of a snowball, a little ice. And you're like, there's something here, there's something here. Immediately, the first step for us is where is the alignment with the thesis, right? We like it, but why, right? So what pieces of that thesis does it overlap with and where do we have questions? We tend to start an internal Google Doc, we're all on it, we're piling on the questions, we're interacting in it, we're all answering them. We actually like to just add the founders in there too. Really real time, everyone's asking questions, everyone's answering them. You're hearing our thinking, that's how it's gonna kind of go the best. And that's a really communal effort around here. And when it works best, it's like literally everyone here is asking questions and kind of piling onto it and also sharing their perspectives on it. And as my partner Nick says, like, so we roll the snowball. And sometimes it gathers snow and you're like getting more excited and more people are adding their ideas and you're getting more excited. And sometimes like there's water poured on the snow and something comes up and you're like, I'm a little less excited. Like it starts to kind of roll backward and shrink a little bit. And you gotta like see if you get it there. But a lot of that for us is around this alignment to the thesis and the shared perspective we already have and trying to figure out if it's the right articulation of that. I've always rejected this idea or struggled with the idea as an investor of, I meet you, you have a company, I talk to you for 45 minutes and then I'm supposed to like, is it good? Like, I don't know if it's good. You don't know if it's good either. Like, no one knows if it's good. But we need to be able to articulate, what does it mean that it's good? For us, what it means that it's good is that it's aligned with the thesis. Maybe we're wrong about the thesis. Maybe you are too. But then we're all kind of wrong together. But at least that's a directional thing we can point to. I need a founder that is building in the category for an important reason. I tend not to work well with founders that backed into the market, even though there's plenty of examples of that being successful. Some unfair advantage or reason that that person is building in the market that they're focused on tends to be a big one for me. I generally like a product-centric founder who just leads with product thinking. USV tends to like that overall. I don't think everyone does, but we tend to, if there's like a financial mechanic approach to a market and a product approach to a market, we tend to like the product approach to the market. Partly because we care about efficiency in approach to doing things. And so, but you know, there's exceptions to all these, but that's one. I love a storyteller. I think a lot of awesome products and companies fall down with founders that can't tell the story. And that's really painful to watch because you're like, we have it, we have a great product, this is really good. And like, you know, and it's consistent. Like if you can't tell the story to an investor, like it's hard to recruit the best people on the team. It's hard to keep them on the team. It's hard to get attention in the media. It's hard to get partners. It's hard to get sales. It's hard to make the story consistent through the org. I have just found that that ability really matters. And some of what storytelling means is not only how engaging you are and how dynamic you are, but it's also how good you are at multiple elevations at the same time. Can you speak to the scale of the opportunity and the possibilities of what it can do and this kind of big narrative arc, and also be really well versed in the weeds and know the details of the business and kind of constantly be moving between those elevations. I find that the best founders I work with have the numbers and the details of their business like literally at their fingertips at all times, like so deep. And the somewhat ones that have more growth to accomplish don't. They have to look a lot of things up. They're a step removed from it. They have a finance person on it. The best founders are maniacal about that, and they don't. And I've learned to really, really look for that when I meet people. Transparency is a great objective. You are not, like, no deal is going to get done by a smart investor because they don't understand your numbers. They will figure it out. And it is much better if you help them figure it out and frame it and be transparent. As soon as I get the tiniest whiff that something isn't transparent, that it's being concealed or framed or anything, I walk away immediately, no matter how much I like the company. It just is not a good fit, and it's gonna come back to haunt me later in some other way they do it. And I tell this to my founders who often have an instinct to do this when they're going out to pitch Bs and Cs. One of my partners said earlier this week that they think the best founders in our portfolio will not launch a feature without killing another feature. That kind of focus of like, you just can't do so many things at one time. Almost never have you seen feature aggregation be the thing that breaks through the noise, is the kind of focus that the best founders have. And that maniacal, like, if I'm making a bet that this is the thing, this is the thing. I like that a lot. I think it is true. That really knowing and being really clear on the bet you are taking right now, and it's not 5 bets. I always say this, inevitably in like your first or second Series A board meeting after you lead a company, they like give you OKRs, and the OKRs are an absolute mess, which is fine. And they're like 15 OKRs, and they're scaled on a scale from 1 to 100, and you can get like a 67 on your third OKR. And I'm like, okay, no, right? Like, here's the thing, no more than 4 OKRs, you hit them or you don't hit them. And it's okay, sometimes you're not gonna hit them. And we try again next quarter, but there is no 67% of an OKR, right? And I think it's the same in kind of this question of how granular and tight can you get the focus to be. I think it actually changes almost everything. And it's like, I don't wanna be like hypey in saying that, but I actually think it's really true for a few reasons. One is we've been in a time where this like how much capital raised is this sign of success, right? And it's a kind of a signal or a proxy for scale. We are really encouraging founders, and we think it's true, that it should be the inverse, right? You should be able to get way, way, way farther on the capital you have, right? Like tons of functions that you had to hire people to do, acquire customers, manage data, build tons of product, all of this. The best teams are doing with way fewer people and way faster. And we see it black and white in our portfolio. The teams that have adopted these tools are moving at way faster rates and with way fewer people than the ones that haven't. And that's everything from internal ops, so how they do data management and accounting and finance and things that just slow you down, honestly, to how they're acquiring customers, to how they're building product, to how they're speccing product, to how they're prioritizing features. The best teams are using AI in every step of that, which is making them be able to get pretty far on not that many people. And so the dollars are actually being spent against compute and product and not headcount in a really dramatically different way, but not everyone's doing it. And we're trying to figure out if a team doesn't have those instincts, can we get them there or not, right? Because it's one thing to make our net new investments around it. It's another to look at our portfolio and say, some teams are evolving to this enormously quickly and some are really struggling to do so. But the ability to look in a portfolio points out how important this is to us for sure. And so I would really take to heart the efficiency question if I was starting a company.